scary.
Welcome. My name is Lauren Kajikawa, and I have the pleasure of being the current program head for music here at the Corcoran School of the Arts and Design at George Washington University. And welcome to the Atrium of the beautiful Flagg building. Wonderful venue for music and especially for choral music. You're here today for a capstone recital performance featuring one of our graduating music majors, Grace Rafferty. Today's capstone is part of the next festival. The next festival is the Corcoran School of the Arts and Design's annual celebration of all of the work that our graduating students do across 7 programs that comprise the Corcoran School. So I invite you, after the concert, you can walk around and see some of the work of these other students. And at 7 p.m., there will be another graduating music student, Kevin Darmody, who's going to be performing in Hammer Auditorium, which is just down the hall where you're going to have to exit anyway, so you might as well stop in and hear some of his bagpipe music, which should be a really interesting and fun concert at 7 p.m. I do want to say a little bit about tonight's performer. Grace is a double major in human services and social justice, as well as music. I see there are people representing that program who are making gestures there, so welcome. And I think this capstone recital is a good example of the way in which many of our students find ways to combine their interest in music with whatever their other major is, right? And so I think what you'll see and experience as a part of this program is really the culmination of time that Grace has spent in our music program, but also her entire time here at George Washington University. We're very proud of that. The other thing I want to say more on a personal note is the first time I actually met Grace, the first time that we had a face-to-face meeting and a conversation, the topic of singing in choirs and your experience of singing in choirs and your experience with different leadership styles in choir, that was like the topic of our discussion. So from the very beginning, from years back, this has been something you've been thinking a lot about, and so it's really kind of a beautiful thing to see 2 years later this come back as the capstone project. And this is, as you'll hear from Grace herself, this is a somewhat unconventional capstone in that Grace isn't standing up here taking center stage. She's working with a number of other students in this very collaborative way, and it's a good example of our curriculum, which is a balance between courses that students take in classrooms, that they take private lessons, they play and perform in ensembles, right? And so they have these variety of experiences in the classroom and working with different kinds of people. And this capstone is really a great illustration of the community and collaborative nature of the work that we do in music. So having said that, I want to just get out of the way now and welcome Grace Rafferty.
Dr. Kajikawa for his such kind words. Oh my gosh. Like he said, my name is Grace, and I am so excited to be here with you all today. And just a little bit about myself. I am from Arlington, Virginia, so the DMV is where I've called home my entire life, aside from the first 7 months, which we won't talk about. It's fine. But I've been in the DMV, so I really call this place my home, and I've all of my discipline in human services and music, are very heavily influenced from this area. I started out with my arts background being a classical Cambodian dancer in this area, and that's where I kind of discovered my love for the arts, but then it transitioned also into music, where I started going into theater, and I started going into choir. I just loved being in front of people, obviously. But then in conjunction with that, I had this incredible role model in my mother who committed her life to service. In her 20s and 30s, she decided she wanted to be a counselor and was that for the church, and was serving the people in her community, and then decided to be a civil servant for the rest of her career. And so service and music have been two huge parts of my life. So I'm really grateful that I've gotten a space in GW to study those in conjunction. And that's kind of what this capstone is. I wanted this to be a culmination, not just of my work in music, but also, like Dr. Kajikawa said, my entire experience here. And so I decided I really wanted to focus on how leadership works in a choral space, and specifically how hierarchy is established and how to kind of blur those lines a little bit more to create more collaboration and creativity together. And so I initially started out working with a shared leadership model, but this had some caveats. The number one being, in shared leadership models, a lot of the time, the leaders come together, and that's not how this choir was convened. It came about me asking of people's time and their effort and their talents. And so we kind of pivoted from shared leadership to leadership empowerment. And this called upon each person's individual strength, skills, and just gifts that they had to share and were willing to share. And I think that's really showcased today. And that'll come out in our accompanist, our wonderful accompanist Rachel, who's here with us today, and Nick. And also in student testaments that you'll see in our video introduction portions. And so also just to touch a little bit on the theme of our concert, Together, Finding Our Common Humanity, what we also were trying to do is create community within our group, but also create a moment of community with you all here in this moment. And at this very point in time, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, and we want to also make a very poignant message that this is a space for everyone, and we want everyone to feel included and safe here and in community with us to share and express themselves freely. So, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.
Our first piece today is Narverud Pray, arranged by Liversidge and released to public domain in 2014. But it is originally an African-American spiritual and hymn that's been orally passed down through generations. Its first publication and attributions are given to George H. Allen in the Slave Songs of the United States, which was published in 1867. And this is a collection of 136 plantation songs that are aligned with the stories and experiences of enslaved individuals during this time before the Civil War. And like many other songs in the collection, Down in the River is a call to come together and find commonality, in this case through faith, in times of darkness, and strive to move forward together and find strength in our commonality.
The way we started rehearsing this piece was we sang through the melody, like the first part, the soprano part, and to really nail that down. And then we started working on our individual parts and then rehearsing it together.
To help us prepare to start working together, we did some exercises to get to know each other. So we introduced ourselves and talked about something good that happened in our week, and then we went into small groups and talked about things that were happening to us, maybe like our struggles or things that were really good that were happening, so we could kind of become more unified as a choir as we went into learning the songs for this capstone choir.
We were rehearsing, when we were building the song piece by piece, I did notice a lot of people that were kind of jumping out there and singing even when, you know, they weren't sure of the notes or weren't sure of the harmony, etc.
Once we kind of had all gotten used to it, we just like added and subtracted the sections that we wanted, and then sections we didn't want, and then like all together as a choir, I remember us just like kind of pitching in ideas, especially Will, because he was right next to me, pitching in ideas about what we want to do with the meaning of the song, and kind of like how we wanted it to work and whatnot.
At some point in the rehearsal process, we sort of collectively agreed to make it our own. We were allowed to do that because of public domain, but I really appreciate how we were able to sort of
yeah, so other Japanese leaders, like it kind of was a big collection of people who just like pitched in different ideas and what they thought would go well with the song. And so that's kind of like what you hear today is all the different ideas coming together.
I think that our experience with Down to River to Pray was actually really unique in choir. So, normally when you get a piece of music, maybe you have one or two other people, maybe a handful of people who have sung a given song in choir before, but you don't normally walk in with the whole choir or most of the choir being familiar with the piece. And that was definitely the case with Down to River to Pray. Most everyone knew it already, or if they didn't, within hearing the line one time, they were able to grasp onto it. And that's really what the song's about, right? It was made in order to be heard once and then for everyone to be able to jump in. And I know that enabled me to be more of a leader throughout the semester because I felt like I could sing out. I wasn't as nervous about maybe my singing abilities or whether I was going to mess up the note or not, because it's very much gospel style, like you sing as you are moved, and that felt like I had a lot of freedom in that way. And I think that was also making it a really unique learning experience for all of us, because instead of having to deal with learning the notes and learning the words, we could just jump right into how does this piece make us feel.
This song, what I learned from it is how nice and beautiful a very simple song can be. It's not super challenging, but it's still really cool to sing. And I like it because it's folksy and makes me feel like I can look back into history and just get a view of what people's culture is about and what they did in their lives.
I hope to convey to the audience, obviously the message of the piece. The piece has such a profound message, but I also hope to help the audience understand how we kind of rehearsed it and how each piece of the song is so important in the way that we were able to recognize that through our rehearsal process.
It's a piece very much about, hey, I need some help, show me the way, and but eventually you grow in confidence inviting other people with you, and I hope the audience feels that we can invite them with us.
It calls all of us, sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, to unite everyone in. In the song, everyone is united by prayer, but for us, we are united for our love for music. Something that I felt during rehearsal, and that feeling of, wow, we sing, we sound good. It's an amazing feeling to have.
And this piece to me, I think it really is the piece that shows the most confidence and the most work that we've done on building confidence in a piece and not being afraid to make mistakes and not being afraid to join in when you feel comfortable. And I think that it's a really strong example of this Capstone project as a whole, of becoming a leader, knowing that you can do something yourself.
And because we've been able to sit with it for so long, I feel like that really comes out in our performance of it. You can tell that this has been marinating in the choir space for a while. And I hope that the audience is able to feel that comfortability and that sense of community, and I hope that they feel moved to sing along with us too.
anthem to be anti-war, anti-violence. 15 years later, this piece still rings true. As we emerge from a global pandemic, live through polarizing political times, and observe global atrocities, it's really important for us to remember that there can be no peace or justice without speaking out. And so that's what we're doing here today. And I just wanted to read a poem for you all to have a sense of it. Sing, be, live, see. The stark, stormy hour, the wind, it stirs. The scorched earth cries out in vain. O power, O war, blind and blur, the torn heart cries out in pain. But music and singing have been my refuge, and music and singing shall be my light. A light of song, shining strong, hallelujah. Through darkness, pain, and strife, I'll sing, be, live, see. Peace.
When we started learning Earth Song, the first part of our rehearsal process was to read through the poem, read through the words of the piece together, so that we could start to understand the message of this piece.
And I think many pieces, and especially this piece, the music, how it's laid out, is really informed by the words, by what it's saying. So it's really enlightening to be able to understand what you're singing about, what you're singing for, before you learn this music.
Sat with it, thought about what it meant to ourselves, and talked about that, shared that with everyone else. Talked about what it can mean in a greater global context, whether it's like with the environment, with politics, war.
Kind of on the heels of all of the turmoil that's happening overseas and the emotions that raises for a lot of people, we had those conversations, and they were good to have. These are conversations that we don't usually get to have in a choir setting, and I feel like obviously everyone at GW and here is like super intelligent and up to date, and it was nice to hear people's perspectives and understand where people's thoughts come from. Because a lot of times we just get too caught up in the day and in the news and what people think, and we don't take the time to listen and understand each other. And so it was nice to have that time to do that with this song.
It not only makes the music easier to learn, because you kind of have a sense of like, oh, I see why we grow here, because this word is really important, or because this isn't a super dramatic part of the poem or something like that. I think that, so I think it not only makes the music easier to learn, but it also means that we're more intentional, I think, as a choir with the way that we make phrases and the way that we look out for different dynamics, because, at least for me, like, I was already emotionally invested in the song before we even started learning it, because I read the poem and thought it was just so beautiful, and, you know, partly that's because I'm a little bit of an earth hippie, right? And so Earth Song is very exciting for me, sustainability is something that's important to me. But I also think that, you know, we're choir kids. We love to sing songs about music and the power of music, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't think that it was important.
If you focus on the words, it transforms the beauty in song. It's finding beauty and solace in suffering. And it was very difficult to get that feeling at first. It was only after taking the time to understand the lyrics, as well as the emotions, the dynamics of the song began to click.
And then we started working on it. And we kind of jumped in right away because this piece is really about the meaning, so you need to kind of get the notes first, and then so then you can really imbue the meaning in your singing. So it was us singing through it, then asking for help in getting our notes and rhythms right, and then being able to work on techniques to really enhance the meaning of this piece.
Some of the difficulties that we mostly with the notes and with like getting the dynamics, the swells on some of these really pretty kind of dissonant notes. I think that that's something that we definitely worked on a lot, and that was a bit of a struggle for us. But we overcame them through practice and through just a greater understanding of the piece and each word kind of, having that emotion, having the swell of the tone. So I think that was really impactful.
And so the idea that the earth is a musical place in and of itself, and it needs to be protected because of that, I think helped in our process of working on it technically. So we tried to sort of bring out those ideas through dynamics and phrasing, which are already written in, but really feeling does, I think, having that connection to the text help with that. And I hope that our work on the musical side of things enhances the message of the piece, whatever the audience interprets it to be. It does not have to be the same as the way we interpret it, but I hope that the music can bring that out.
I think a lot of times in choirs we get so focused on making sure that we sound good and making sure that we're singing well and that our words are enunciated well and we're using dynamics and going the right tempo, that sometimes we don't necessarily take a second to listen and understand the message that we're trying to convey. So I appreciated that we went and read through the poem so that we could take a second and develop our own understanding of this piece, that it was meant to advocate for peace. It was meant to be a song that is saying, although horrible things have happened, there is still a way to have peace. There is still a way for us to, as humans, be peaceful and to give us hope. I think there's so many terrible things that happen in this world that it's nice to be reminded that there will be peace eventually.
The message of the song is peace. The world is sometimes not a very good place, and we are sheltered from a lot of it, and sometimes a lot of what people need is music and peace and healing, and that's kind of what this song is about.
Music is a really powerful tool in making people feel things and sit with feelings that they don't normally want to, or they aren't normally capable of sitting with. Music helps them process and digest, and it helps us as performers process. It certainly helps me process what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking at any given moment. So this is a really good special piece to me because of that.
which encapsulates the entire theme of our concert, finding our common humanity. So it starts off with the piano, and then the singers join in, and then the drum joins in to accompany. And when I was making this piece, I really thought it represents humanity, how we all come from different walks of life. We all enter each other's stories at different points, but yet we all come together and create really beautiful things by almost happenstance, and I think it's really beautiful.
I remember just diving right into Sisi and Moja. We felt super confident after learning our other songs, so we wanted to see how well we could do.
We rehearsed Sisi and Moja by going through it, like just the whole song, and at first it was a little bit of a struggle at some parts because it looked more complicated on the page than it actually was for some parts. As we kept singing that, we realized that, and I think just we could trust ourselves more and go with it, and that worked.
Looking at this music, it looks so difficult, and seeing all of those 16th notes gets very scary. But once we kind of went through it and we started to get kind of rhythm, and the flow of this piece is a lot easier to understand what the rhythms were supposed to sound like.
We then worked with our accompaniment, and the experience was very positive. The accompanists are very talented at the instruments they play, and through them the song is complete. It's a very lively song, and I feel that that would be something that our voices alone would have a hard time doing, like extracting that liveliness.
It was really exciting to collaborate with the accompanist because it just adds a little bit extra something to the piece. I love acapella pieces, but I think that sometimes when you have accompaniment, it just really it makes it a stronger message, it makes it a stronger sound. And it was great to have, the piano. It's such a beautiful piano part, and the drums was really exciting to add in. And so I think that it adds, just that emphasis on the messages, and we're all kind of together and we're all collaborating. And I think that was a really exciting element to add.
But anytime you're working with instrument, it is like working with a partner in music, and it just elevates music to a different level than if you were singing by yourself. So I think especially working with other students and seeing the talents of other students at GW was really nice for me as somebody who has not been here very long and is kind of separated from anything music at GW. So I think it was a wonderful experience to work with them, and I'm very grateful that we got that experience.
There was a point in the rehearsal process where Grace told us all, guys, this is only gonna work if you all sing out. And we all took that to heart and immediately switched up. Sometimes all it takes is a reminder. And we all started to sing out, and that totally changed the entire feel of the piece. And it's not often that we as singers get to sing with a drummer and a pianist, but when we do, it's really cool and it's really fun. But it's challenging, and one of the things that you learn is that you have to sing it out. You have to do your part, and I think it's particularly apropos that this song is all about our shared common humanity. It brings together 3 different instruments, the voice, drums, the piano, and that it only works when we're all bringing to the table a really strong sound. Even if we might mess up on the rhythm or back up on the notes every once in a while, the piece really takes on life once we all bring our fullest selves to the table, which is cool.
The lyrics of this song was a lot of similarities that we as humans have, and I think it beautifully ties in with the phrase that the song ultimately leads to. We are one. In today's age, it feels that we are divided, but the song acts as a reminder that we are not divided and shouldn't be divided. Deep down, we are all the same, no matter how different we are.
It's so easy to, be divided and otherize people, and it's a good reminder to remember that we all have these human characteristics, we all feel these emotions, And especially when it says we all cry, that's helpful to me personally because things like crying can feel shameful or embarrassing or be like a negative emotion. But it's a good reminder that, we all do it and that's okay. And it makes me feel a bit better because it's just a part of the human experience, and that makes it kind of beautiful, even though crying still sucks most of the time.
It's similar to Earth Song for me, in that it's just, come on, we all do this. We're all human, and sort of fighting against dehumanization of other people. And I think just when we're rehearsing and hearing and singing the words, we all do this, many, many times, it reinforces that meaning of common humanity and shared humanity.
I think that the theme of community that's present in it, Sisi and Moja, we are one, that's repeated throughout the piece. It's most obvious here, and you kind of can't miss it. And at first I thought, well, that's like just kind of cheesy or a little bit too sappy, which I'm personally generally kind of averse to. I prefer a little bit more subtlety. But I did find that as we sang, as I thought about it a little bit more, the fact that it's blunt and like very clear about what it's saying is, I think, almost more valuable, at least in the context of our program, because our three pieces are, in a way, all about community. I think having a piece that just outright says it is very valuable. I think, especially in an age where we take things at face value too often. We don't think about things anymore. We don't really consider ideas. I think just like saying, like, here you go, we are one, we are common people. I think that's really valuable, because sometimes the blunt message is what we need the most.
Thank you again.